Hello and welcome to Club at 22 and to a new pod here that we have very originally called Club Q&A. With no football this weekend, we decided that instead of starting one of the many series and shows that we've got planned for stuff like 55, Player of the Year, etc., we would just get together and answer some listener questions and just chat about anything else that really pops up. I am your host, Scott Carney. Joining me is Ali Pearson and Scott Gemmell. I'll come to them in just a second, but this is our second take of doing this. We recorded earlier on. The recording did not go very well, so we've decided to redo it again. I thank the gentleman for doing that. But as we were doing the first recording, the news broke from the club, obviously, that Walter Smith was recovering in hospital from an operation. So it's only right that we pass on our best. So obviously from me, the two boys, obviously we pass on the best to Sir Walter and his family, and we hope that he makes a speedy recovery. It wouldn't be right for us not to mention it, considering when this podcast is now going to come out. So, Ali, I'll come to you. We've just got to hope he pulls through.
Yeah. No, hopefully it's just a kind of minor operation he's in hospital for, and hopefully he gets back out and he's back to Ethel and he's safe and sound. Yeah, I mean, me and Scotia touched on it in the first pod that gets get wiped. We were fortunate enough to meet Walter, and it's quite an intimate night, to be honest. It was for our friend Matt, who was the pro golfer down at Helensburgh, and Walter came as a guest speaker for him. Matt taught Walter golf lessons as well, so we got to meet him. We got to spend time with him at the bar and stuff. I speak to him, and he just spoke to you like a normal person, to be honest. I mean, that's what he is. But obviously, a wee bit in awe of him. And I always remember talking to him at the bar, and we were playing some third division mob the next day. And I said to Walter, I says, "Well, if I'm away up tomorrow to Ibrox with my dad to watch the game," and he was like, "What are you going to watch that shite for?" I was like, quite funny. But he liked giving it tight to McCoy's. But no, it was a good wee night, and you were there as well, Scotia.
Excuse me. Yeah, no, it was a lovely night. That there's a wee story that I'll tell later on, because I think one of the questions kind of relates or feeds in quite nicely to it. But it was a pleasure meeting him, and obviously, guy, where we are down in Helensburgh, you've got folk like that you meet all the time, and you see Walter about, and he's such a great man. What he done for Rangers, coming back and saving us pretty much when Le Guen buggered it up, he done it for Scotland as well just previous to that. So I've got nothing but admiration for him, and he gave us 9 in a row.
Yeah, all we can do is just hope he makes a speedy recovery. There's not really much else we can say. He's an absolute legend to all three of us. I grew up watching him. He was my second dad. I've said that before on the pod. So we've got all our best to him. Just respect his family as we can just now, and just hope that we get some good news. But everybody here at Club at 22 passes on their best. So, gentlemen, we'll try and kind of raise the spirit from that. Obviously, it's pretty horrific news, but we'll just try no really easy way to transition from it, really. But we've basically just decided to do this because obviously we have got shows planned for 55 different series that we're going to start, but instead of trying to rush it through just to get something out for 55, we decided to open this up to our nice listeners on Facebook, and they have responded. So we'll just answer some of their questions, and we will just see where it goes, basically. See where it goes. Sit back and relax and enjoy it. So we'll start off with our first question. That's from David Bradford. He asked us, select the best starting 11 from the 9 in a row era and this current crop of players. So to make this fair, I am basing it on players that I've seen in the flesh, because there is one name in particular that will be left out of this. It will probably be a wee bit controversial, and that's obviously Davy Cooper. But I did not see Davy Cooper playing football, so I can't. Well, I didn't see him playing for Rangers. I did see bits of him after that. Obviously, I've seen multiple tapes of him, but I've never ever seen him in the flesh, so that's why he's not in this team. But we'll stop at the keeper because it was a conversation I think we should have anyway. Based on Alan McGregor's spectacular save against Slavia Prague on Thursday night, the question has come up again within social media, within Rangers pages, Rangers fans, Gorham or McGregor. Now, there is no doubt for me that McGregor is now the second best keeper Rangers have ever had, and that's because Gorham is always going to be my first. I can understand the argument with McGregor, I really do, but the goalie was the goalie for me when I was growing up, and he always will be. It's hard to replace somebody like that. I remember my dad calling him the goalie. I remember seeing things that Gorham had done. He broke the Tim's hearts I don't know how many times. But I will say McGregor he's pushing his way into the conversation now to be probably our best ever. Ali?
Yeah, I mean, that just touching on that save last night, I watched it back like probably you guys did umpteen times. The ball's
many times.
Yeah, the ball's actually slightly behind him when he saves it, and he kind of saves it. I think somebody's done a sort of the paused the frame, and it's a sort of pinky that saves it, but it's the way he sort of brings it back and holds it. It was outstanding, and I mean, you can have a debate another day. Is it better than the Werder Bremen save that we've seen going to Manchester? And it happened at the same round as well, which is another one you can look at now. So hopefully that's a good omen. But no, I mean, we've had a brief discussion in Gorham and Shagger before, and we all said Gorham at the time, but we said Shagger was not far behind. But he's pulled a few world-class saves off this season since we last chatted, and he's getting extremely close to Gorham, to be honest. Very different keepers, different eras. Shagger's playing with his feet more often, coming out coming out from the back. Andy Gorham wouldn't do that. Andy Gorham wouldn't even take goal kicks because of his knees were that buggered, to be honest. So, for me, he broke at Tim's heart so many times, Gorham. I would have Gorham just ahead of him.
Scotia?
I wouldn't even say just ahead. I think Gorham's still in front by a long way. But I come to this that I'm looking at it as how in love I was with Andy Gorham. At that point, I was a young boy. At the point when I seen Gorham play, so you just fall in love with a player like that. Alan McGregor's 4 or 5 years older than me, and as you grow up, can you have an idol like that when you're that bit older? You can, but Gorham still, he takes that place in like my heart and my memories of watching Rangers as a young boy. That Shagger could do phenomenal things for the next 2 seasons, 3 seasons, if he wants to play, because I think he's got it in him to play for the next 2 or 3 seasons, to be honest, with saves that he was making last night. That was unbelievable. I think that's probably the second best save I've ever seen a Rangers goalkeeper make. I'm putting Gorham's save against Højdonk in front of that. But he's lovely. It's I love them both. But for me, it's probably just because I'm that bit older that Gorham just kind of captures my heart.
And Scotia, you've had a few bevies with the goalie as well, so.
I have indeed. What did he call me? Well, no, he used to call me what? Dado, and then
he used to call you Big Dodo.
Dodo, yeah.
In fact, he said, remember that time we were in the pub and he said to his pals, he was like, "Oh, Dado Puzz was here and everything, and you had to play along with it and stuff."
Yeah. So Ali's obviously referencing we were drinking in the quayside for a bit before games, and the goalie started drinking in there. And we kind of got talking to him. The goalie was a bit irregular in there for a wee while, and obviously every kind of game we went in, he was there. What did he call me?
The guy with
Pluto. Aye, Pluto, because I was fat and I still am, but I've got a grey and beard anyway. So he used to call me Pluto, but yeah, I mean, maybe that's why we're a wee bit more romantic to him as well. I suppose is the fact that we've had kind of direct contact with him. I did beat him at pool. You've witnessed it.
I've got evidence on my phone of
yes.
that, yeah.
One of the most surreal moments of my entire life. I just remember at one point he get down to play a shot and I'm playing Andy Gorham at pool in the Quayside bar on Paisley Road West. I mean, what is going on here?
But he was Karen, he was doing a speakers night that night, and you actually kept him back from that speakers night. So,
because I mind that boy turned up in the suit as well, and he was like, "Andy, we need to go." And he's like, "I'm playing pool." He's like, "I'll finish my game and then we can go."
Well, Andy, do you want another gin? You can stay.
I know. Right. To be fair, he'd had a few by that point, but I think we all had. But yeah, it's a surreal moment. But yeah, I think Andy Gorham's always going to be held in really, really high regard for me. And no matter how much I love Alan McGregor, and I do love Alan McGregor, and even his interview after it, I just dived down to my left and I saved it, and happy days. You're like, it's one of the saves of the fucking century, man. Like, yeah. So.
The thing is, you want to say it's humble, but it's not humble. It's just Alan McGregor being Alan McGregor. He's like, so dry. That's what he expects. Yeah. He expects himself to do that. It's like, no. I do that 2 or 3 times a week, kind of thing.
Yeah, I do wonder if he's as dry as that in real life. Like, do you think he is? Do you think in the dressing room and that he's like dry like that with some of the younger mob? Maybe it's only people like Davo and stuff like that. They kind of get to see him the proper way he is. But what do you think? Do you think he's like that?
I think he has got that kind of dry type of personality, but I'd still imagine he's a bit of a lad, to be honest. I know he's married now, McGregor, but I still think he's got that side to him.
The video of him trying to lift his head in the back of the car as he left the training ground.
That one was good, but did you see the wee picture that came out with after the game on Thursday night, and Zunga just looks terrified of him, and McGregor's just going like there, no bother, just fist bumping people, and Zunga's face is like, oh no.
Zunga should be terrified of him, to be completely honest. I wouldn't have liked to have broke the COVID rules and put everything in jeopardy and going to face Alan McGregor, I tell you that. Quickly, just about, I know we're obviously we're not on David's question here, we're just talking about Gorham and McGregor, but see the amount of times I've watched that replay. I think Ryan Kent and Nathan Patterson, from different angles that I've seen, both think that they've just scored. And then obviously McGregor saves it, because see, if you look at Kent kind of drops his shoulders and his body language as if they've just scored. And Nathan Patterson kind of goes to like turn away as well. And they've obviously looked back and went, my God, he saved that. The save will be, I think it'll go down in history, that one probably will, hopefully, because we need to do it justice on Thursday. Alan McGregor's done his part now for us, so we need to go on to Thursday and do our bit for him, I think. But in terms of this 11, I'm going with Gorham. Ali, you going with Gorham?
Yeah.
Scott, Gorham?
Yeah, Gorham.
Yeah, that's right. Right, we'll do the back line first, okay? So I've went with this year's Tav. Centre-back pairing of 4-4-2, by the way. Richard Gough and Staunch Bomber Brown and David Robertson. Ali? And by the way, it was very close with Bomber and Goldson. Very, very close.
Yeah, well, my whole team, I've tried to combine a bit of both 9 in a row in the current team rather than pick what I think, if you know what I mean, because a lot of that 9 in a row team would probably dominate that. So I've went with Tav at right back. I've gone with Gough, Goldson beside him as a ball-playing centre-back beside him, and I've went Davy Robertson on the left, because I think Robertson, he would suit our team now in terms of the way he was a modern-day fullback ahead of his era, as Scotia would probably say with him. He bombed up and down that wing, and he would fit into our team now. So that's my back four.
Yeah, you're probably spot on about Robertson there, to be fair, mate. I think he was definitely ahead of his time. Scotia, you're back four?
Yeah, I kind of get confused with this question, and I've just picked my favourite team. And it's basically a 9 in a row team, yeah. So
even though this is part 2 of recording, you've had to change
it. I've actually noted down like what I would say our first 11, 12 players would be this season. And I'm going like, no. So it's Robertson at left back, it's Gough and Butcher in the middle of defence. I mean, Butcher was only there, 2 seasons? 2 seasons he was there. He left in a wee bit of cloud actually as well, didn't he? But yeah, he was the England captain. The England captain was playing for Rangers, and it was phenomenal.
And England goalkeeper.
Yeah, well,
And
pretty much
several
all of
others.
it. Yeah, quite a lot of English players. Obviously, England or English teams at that point couldn't play in Europe, so
Who's your right back, Scotia? That's what everyone's waiting on. Who's the right back?
quick profit. No, Gary Stevens.
Cut fucking Broadfoot. I would have hung up on you.
Well, he wasn't in a 9-0 team.
No, I know. No, Gary Stevens at right back for me.
That's fair enough. And then it was what? Goff
Goff and Butcher in the middle. Yeah, Bomber Brown.
Yeah.
It was a very, very close
Craig
pick.
Moore. Craig Moore.
I know. I thought about Skip as
No,
well.
because do any of you remember this?
His first time. Oh, sorry, Scotia, keep going.
No, what I was going to say, do you remember like, when you had Champman 1 or Champman 2? Craig Moore was in the Rangers team, but he was in the Rangers team as a striker. I'm convinced he was in the Rangers team as a striker. Because he'd obviously...
I know he played under Walter because he came back 3 times, I think, the Rangers. He came back twice under Walter. And he played at right back, I think, a few times. I think he played in the midfield too. He didn't really go into centre back when he was under later in his third period with Rangers, I think. So,
It was Advocat that started playing him in that. Him and Amo.
I mean, Skip's a good shout, to be honest. He was solid as well, Craig Moore, man. And he's a great lad. We've met him. One of the Heart and Hand nights. He's a fucking cracking lad. Really good guy. But just for staunch points, I'd just put Bomber Brown in there, I think. Right, anyway, midfields. So I say 4-4-2. So my right mid is Brian Laudrup, because Brian Laudrup is God. Centre mid, I've tried to do with you, Ali. I'm trying to get some of today's team into this, and I've put Davis in there, and that's for his achievements, obviously, this year. Well, since he's come back to the club, really, and also his achievements in his first spell. I know it wasn't part of 9 in a row and whatever, but Davis has been a massive player for Rangers. The other centre mid, I struggled really as well, not to just try and pick the obvious ones, but it has to be Paul Gascoigne. I've seen very little players that could just take a game and completely change it when he decided that he wanted to play football. Paul Gascoigne has to be in there, and my left mid is George Alberts. So, Ali?
I've got three out of your 4. So, yeah, I've got Laudrup on the right, which I'd be very surprised if Scotia didn't go with that either. I've got Gascoigne in the middle too. Again, I don't think you can leave him out. I've got Davis in there. There's other guys, Durant, McCall, you go through quite a lot, to be honest, but I've got Davis there. And on the left side, I love big Alberts, but I've put Ryan Kent in there. That's just to kind of balance it a wee bit. So Ryan Kent, that's my midfield 4.
Yeah, Scotia?
Yeah, I've changed mine slightly since we last spoke, because I looked at it and I realised that the 4 players that I had in there, there was no balance in the left-hand side, and I honestly forgot all about Big Alberts. I mean, I've got his photo up behind me. So Alberts is playing on the left-hand side, Laudrup on right, and it's Gaza and Stuart McCall. I think Stuart McCall was an absolutely wonderful player for us, and I really love him as well because of that wee car episode they had where he falls off it when Bradford won.
We need to get you on top of a car, Scotia. I can see if you can replicate that.
Is that not a Cook song? I think there's a Cook song that we're bouncing on cars tonight or something like that.
I'm down to Stuart McCall. I think putting Stuart McCall in there when you've got Gaza in the midfield makes 100% sense, mate, really, because
I'm playing a diamond.
Oh,
I'm going for a diamond. So McCall can sit there as as Davis does these days, to be honest. And then you've got Laudrup and Alberts, and then Gaza can play in up that top part. It was the one player that I had to take out was Durant. Yeah. But I realised that I didn't have anyone in that left hand side to play there, and it was very difficult to take Durant out, to be honest, because Ian Durant was world class. Before he got injured, I think he would have been away from Rangers if he didn't get injured. And he would have done massive things, I think, on the continent or down south.
I mean, there's a number of players you leave out of teams like this, though, when you try to pick them. You've got Ian Ferguson as well. The guy was there for the whole 9 in a row. Do you know what I mean? But it's so difficult. It really is. It's really, really difficult. And it's hard for us not to just sit here and romanticise about the 9-in-a-row team, because we grew up. We were lucky enough to grow up. We were all relatively similar ages, only 3 years between the three of us. So we all grew up watching 9-in-a-row. So it's hard. It's hard not to be kind of romantic about them. And I suppose that's probably going to come to fruition here when we discuss our front two, because it's Ali McCoist and Mark Catley, gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same. It'll be a full house. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a full house.
So, but again, though, I will have a special mention for wee Alfredo, because I generally love Alfie. He's the first Rangers forward since Jelavic that I've properly loved. I love everything about him. I love and obviously I know he's not always firing in full cylinders, but if he was, he wouldn't be here. So I love the controversy around him. I love the media hype that he has and the constant sickening of the media that he likes to do. So it was a wee bit of a discussion I had with myself between Hateley and Morelos, but it has to be Mark Hateley and Ali McCoist. It's the best strike partnership I've seen at Rangers. He's in agreement with that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously we're looking at 4-4-2 here. I don't know when Rangers would go to a 4-4-2 again, or you could even say a 3-5-2 is probably the more obvious one they would probably go to. But in terms of getting a partnership striker like those two, I think we'll be very hard pushed to see a better two than that.
Yeah. Scott?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's what, big man, wee man, kind of. I was in Milan a couple of years ago and was going through their stadium doing this sort of San Siro
we're
tour
going down
and
the
stuff like
fucking
that.
Italy road, dog.
We're going down the Italy route. But I was doing that, and it said, like, there was obviously Hateley was at Milan, and there was stuff about it, and it was all about, then he goes to Rangers, and yeah, I mean, I love Mark Hateley. He's absolutely fantastic striker, but Coisty is Coisty, really. I don't think you can. I don't think I can say much more. Everyone knows when you say the name McCoist, you're like, yeah, yes.
Yeah, I've been to a few away games with a boy I used to work with, we Callum. If you're listening, Callum, how you doing? And I used to have conversations with him about like Rangers teams and stuff, and like I would be sitting just talking about like McCoist and Laudrup and Gaza and stuff, just like willy-nilly, not really thinking about it. He's like, just at one point he just went, I never seen Laudrup. And I'm like, what? I just presume everybody's seen Laudrup. I'm like, what? You've not seen Laudrup? I've not seen Gaza. I'm like, you've not seen Gaza? I'm like, oh my God. And yeah, I mean, things like that are just boggling. But again, I'm of the generation that didn't see Cooper as well. Do you know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure if my dad was to pick a best 11, I'm pretty sure Cooper would be in it. So I should get my dad to do that one time, actually. That'd be quite interesting. Anyway, let's not fucking bog down on that. So David then asked us to compare today's team against a 9-in-a-row best, if you like, that David's picked a team from the 90s. So David picked Gorham, Stevens, Gough, Brown, Robertson, Laudrup, Gascoigne, McCall, Alberts, McCoist and Hateley. Now, this is obviously not the team 11 we've just picked. It's the team that obviously have won 55 that we need to compare it against. Now, this is a really difficult thing to do because the style of football was completely different, obviously. And the fitness regimes and everything about it is different. One, start off, it would be a hell of a game to watch because you've got old school versus very much new school, especially with the kind of Gerrard effect, if you like. But I am probably edging the 55 team.
Yeah, I'm the same. It's like you say, it's extremely hard to put the two of them together because they're completely different eras in terms of what that team was. I would say our team at the moment is a more footballing team, if you get what I mean. If they had a shootout right now, the two of them, I think Gerrard's team would beat that team. That's going to be quite controversial for a lot of people. Think, no, you can't say that the 9-in-a-row team, but I'm just going on. We're a different team to that team, and I just think they would outplay them possibly. I don't know what the word is for it, but yeah, if I had to put my hat on it, the 55 team, I think, would possibly beat that team.
Oh, I know. It's a tough one to do because you look at Laudrup, Haley, McCoist, Gascoigne in their pomp. Do you know what I mean? Flying at their absolute best. I mean, they are world-class players. But I don't know. It's hard. Can I pick a draw?
Yeah,
you probably can, Carney. Yeah, it's a difficult one though because the 9 in a row team. It's 9 seasons. Yeah. It's not as if I'm looking at the team that I've picked, and I think they did all play with each other. Gary Stevens definitely didn't play with Laudrup. I'm fucking certain of that. So he couldn't have been in that team. So it's difficult, but I think everyone else did. But then Haley played with Laudrup and Gazza when Haley came back. That wee interview when he's in his tartan suit when out of Glasgow Airport. So you're picking over that period, and there's some dross. I mean, you forget 8 in a row and 9 in a row seasons we were absolutely fantastic, but 6 and 7 in a row we were garbage. We were struggling, but the only reason that we won was because everyone else was just as bad. We were just slightly better than the other dross. So it's difficult, and I think this Gerrard team would beat the team of the 90s. It's this team, I think, I've said it, come to me in 5-10 years' time. This is going to be a special team, I think. And I mean, I hope we're on course to do something really, really special this year. Not counting the 55. I've got ambitions of more shiny things getting made in my face.
That's only because you booked a hotel in Gdansk, you moron.
Oh, cancelled it, mate. Cancelled it.
But I think as well, obviously I've mentioned we are of similar age, right? So the 9 in a row team means so much to us. The 9 in a row era means so much to us, what we grew up watching. It might take a bit of time, I think, for this team to be remembered as fondly as the way we remember 9 in a row. But we've all said it on previous pods. This is the most important. The 55 is the most important title in our lifetime. We've all agreed on it. It doesn't matter about 8, 9 in a row. It really doesn't make a difference. So it's difficult because you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, because I love so much of this team right now, but I love so much of that era back then. It gave me my childhood. It really did give me my childhood, and it gave me the love that I have for my club. So yeah, it's a difficult one, but yeah, it's a tough question. I'll probably stick with a draw. Fuck it. Sorry, David.
It's that thing. It's like the youngster in you going back to that team, and that's when you fell in love with Rangers.
Yeah, probably. So
that's always going to stick with us, because there'll be guys that'll be 20, 25 that'll go no, him, and their opinion is not wrong in any way, but it's just because of that emotional attachment you get to them, and that's when you fall in love with the football club.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you were to ask maybe, say, a 15, 16-year-old now about the kind of two teams, they'd pick every player in that 55 team. I don't think there's any really doubt about that, and I suppose that's the way the world works, and that's the way the kind of cycles of players happen. But yeah, I mean, it would be such a good game to watch. But anyway, we'll move on, or else we'll spend all day on this. But David, thank you very much for giving us your question, mate. Really appreciate it. Move on to another David now. So Davy Mack from the Skelmy and Wemsbury Rangers Supporters Club. What style of shirt would you like to see the champions wear next season, and what has been your favourite shirt in your lifetime? So I'll start with this. I think it's going to be a very classic top. I see it being obviously the kind of retro top that Castore have brought out this year, and I just hope that the sponsors stay out of it and it doesn't end up like that. You know, that one with the crest on it with the wee tiny tenant sitting underneath it. I hope it's not like a wee tiny 32 red underneath it. I think that's, yeah, I fucking hated that top. It gives me the fear every time I see it. I never bought that top, actually. That's one of the only tops I never bought. But I think it has to be something quite special. I don't know whether they're going to go down the route of having the kind of first ever badge that Rangers had. I know there's a talk about having the kind of the Gallant Pioneers kind of badge on it, but apparently that was never actually on a Rangers top before, or it was only for one game or something. There's definitely something behind that. Was it a Scotland top? There's definitely something about that. Yeah, there's definitely something about that that's a wee bit controversial anyway, but I think it's going to kind of go down that kind of route of being classic. I say it might have a classic badge on it or something, but I expect it to be something quite special. I hope Castore do it proud, to be honest. And in terms of my favourite top, it's the Gaza 8 in a row top. It's never not going to be that. The Adidas round the neck and the 3 stripes round the arm. It'll be that top forever for me. It's my fondest memory. I was there when Gaza beat Aberdeen on his own. I was there at Ibrox that day, so yeah, it forever will be that top. Ali?
Yeah, and in terms of the top for next season, with the 150 years coming up, obviously we're league champions going into that season too. Edmondson House coming along too. I passed it the other day. I think they're looking at starting to build that now. So everything's ticking along. I'm very similar to yourself. I think it'll be along that retro type top, going back to previous years, maybe incorporating other strips into it, or they might have a poll. I don't know what they would. In fact, I'd imagine they've got it picked now. Surely it's picked now going into next season. So I don't know whether. I honestly thought they might run a poll in Rangers fans on all the tops of what was their favourite one and try to judge it that way. But I'd imagine by now it's picked. So yeah, I think it'll go along those lines. In terms of my favourite top, I would, yeah, I'd be the same as you. I'd be the Gascoigne one, as you would say, with the bleach blonde hair. That's the top I would go for. I mean, in terms of other kind of bad strips, you mean, remember the one, was it League One we were in, I think it was, and you had
the Blackthorn. Was it the Blackthorn?
Yeah. And the big shorts.
I fucking hated that top, man. Honestly, I hate that. I couldn't stand that. Oh, horrific.
Oh, and you just look at the players that were in that as well. I think it was Nicky Law, Nicky Clark,
Ian fucking Black.
Ian Black, yeah.
I hate that top.
Did Cabrari, was it Cabrari?
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I think so.
That'll send shivers down your spine.
Oh, it's horrific. So, Scotia, yeah. What do you think about what we're going to do for the top next season and your favourite of all time?
Yeah, I'd like it to be quite nothing about it, just blue, pretty much, and the badge. That's what I want. You know, there's obviously it's 150 years, and I think a lot of people have been in conversations of we want something simple. We want something like 1972 kind of top. That might come. Obviously, they've done it with the retro top that they sold this year, Castore. I bought it. I wore it. I may get beeped. I wore it a few times before, but I've never wore it watching a game again. And sometimes I put it on and then go, oh, wait a minute. No, can't wear that because it's not going to change anything, but you always get that wee kind of superstitious at the moment.
Yeah.
As we're talking about, my favourite top is, as you say, the Gaza one, the 3 stripes. But I pulled it up here. I'm like looking through the historical Rangers tops. I'm just sitting flicking through my phone. We wore that for two seasons, 94 to 96. And the one before that was absolutely brilliant as well because I had the big 3 block stripe things.
The Battle of Britain top, yeah.
But I had that big jacket that you got, and that was lovely. And then the Admiral top that we had in the late 80s or sort of mid to late 80s was really nice. Terrible tops. Do you mind the top, the Diodora top that had all the wee shiny things on it? It was like paper thing.
That reminds me of that short Avalanche. That top reminds me of Ronald de Boer.
Oh, I hated that as well,
So
man.
I'm looking through it and like, the one with the wee daft tenants thing, it was horrible, but that Diodora top was honking. Top, you know, our top I really like as well, actually. See the black one that we won the league in 2011 at Kelly.
The tenants one, yeah.
I really like that. I really like a black top. For some reason, it looks smart. I think a black top it's one of these tops that you could wear out, and folk wouldn't look at you going like, "Oh, you're wearing a football top."
Yeah. I think Castore have they've landed an absolute gem here, to be honest, because they couldn't have asked for anything better. The first season they take over our spot, our shirts even. No matter how controversial they have been, because they have been. My home top's beginning to fall apart. I've only wore it a handful of times. Ali, your orange training top, that's falling apart. Scotia, your jacket that you have, the Champions jacket, that's falling.
The Anthem one, yeah.
The Anthem one, sorry, yeah, that's falling apart. But I mean, now they've now got the task ahead of them of selling a 55 top on our 150th year anniversary. I mean, they are going to make an absolute fortune out of this if they get it right. I think, honestly, see how on the retro top, how the cast doors kind of blue? Like it's still on it. Like I'm sure is it not got a wee cast door badge on it that's like
blued out? It does, yeah, but it's like I think it's embroidered in the shirt as well.
Yeah, so I think
it's the same thread as well. It's not like white thread. It's aye. I know, yeah.
I think it could be the whole top will look like that. It'll just be blue. There might be white piping or something around the arms, around the neck, but everything else will just be that kind of same colour of blue. You'll still be able to see it, obviously, because the sponsors are obviously going to have their say, but I think it might just be that kind of all blue. But see, no matter what they do, see if they get it right, honestly, Castore are sorted, and so is the club. Honestly, they are going to make an absolute fortune out of this. So yeah, it's a shame that we're all kind of rather the same age though. We've all agreed on the same favourite top, but yeah, it has to be that top for me. It gives me my biggest memories. So cheers, Davy Mack. Thanks for getting involved, mate. We'll move on to the next question. So it's for John Harvey, my old buddy. You know, the first season ticket I ever had. I used to sit with John down at Copeland front. Great times, man. Absolutely brilliant times. Fucking takes me back thinking about that. I messaged John not long ago. We were talking about a guy who used to sit next to us, and he was a gentleman of a larger size, we'll say, and he was very fond of eating pies, but he used to always shout when he had pie in his mouth. Oh. And you would just end up, honestly, you would just end up covered in pie. You're like, mate, you're too young to say anything, but at that age, you're like, mate, come on. But I mean, yeah, some absolutely fantastic times down there with John. So, cheers, John. Thanks for getting involved. He said, or the question he's asking even is, at what stage in the season did you realise or felt confident that the league flag was coming home, and why? Ali, do you want to take that first?
Yeah, there's been moments throughout the season that I would say have been major hurdles Rangers have got over, I would say. I thought the first hurdle we got through was 1-0 at Rugby Park. I think Tav scored, I think it was a penalty scored down there. But that was a bogey ground for us the previous 2 years. So to get out of Rugby Park with a 1-0 win, I thought, this Rangers team have got something about them this year. The next one, we watched it together at Mindcarney, was the Motherwell game at Ibrox on the back of that 3-2 defeat for St Mirren in the League Cup, where we were one each with 10 minutes to go. We came back and won that game 3-1. I thought that was massive. And then obviously you roll into January when we played Celtic at Ibrox, and again, no shots in goal, but won the game, which was huge. And I always said throughout December, and that says, come back to me in January, because we had 3-4 dodgy games in there, including the Celtic game, because that was the second. And yeah, end of January was when I thought, it's our title now.
You were fucking murdered to do fucking podcast with back there, to be honest, because you would, no, come back to me at the end of January. No, end of January.
Fucking shite myself every game. And relax Scotia, now, it's actually not bad.
I know, it's quite good. Scotia, when did you realise that it was coming home?
Can you be glib and say after the Aberdeen game, first game of the season? That's completely not true, by the way, no. It would have been the end of January, and it's because we've been there with like previous seasons. We get to December, seem to do really well, go on this wee jolly to Dubai, and I mean we hate Dubai. Well, I hate Dubai, and Dubai hates Rangers. And we come back and we're fucking woeful. We're like 40 pieces, and because the mind when I think Davies had come in that 2 seasons previous, he'd come in the sort of winter transfer window, and I'm like, oh, Davis, you're fucking crap. What are you doing? But he just needed time to get up to speed. And this season, after the end of Jan, you're like, no, Rangers were really good, really, really good. That we didn't have a shot at goal against Celtic. Cal McGregor helped us out. I helped him myself to some of his whiskey last night. Oh, it was fine. Ran you.
If I'm being completely honest, it was the Old Firm game. We had 0 shots on target, and we've managed to get out there with a win. So I think that's the first time I'd said to you, even Ali, that we're going to do this. I was like, this is fucking happening now. I was like, there's no way that there's nothing they can do. And obviously, I hate giving them any sort of plaudits for the spectacular meltdown that they had, but I just had this feeling. I thought something's different here. We were not great in the Old Firm game at all, but again, another remarkable save by Alan McGregor, and no shots on target, and we get help from another McGregor for it, and we win. It's tremendous. It really is. And at that point, I genuinely thought, if I'm being honest with myself, I think that's the first time I said, oh fuck, we're going to do this. Like, we are going to do this. So yeah, I would say around then. But anyway, cheers, John. Thanks for getting involved, mate. Really do appreciate it. Move on to our next one. So it's for Andrew McCall. He says, after Dave King said we should look to cash in on assets, who would you sell this summer and why? I'll start with this one. So before I say who, I generally don't want many, if any, of this team to kind of move on. There's a few that I could see why would move on because they're probably not there. Greg Stewart, for example, maybe Defoe due to his age. I don't think Defoe's going to stay anyway, but players like that. But in terms of the business model that Rangers are running on, and what we have to do is turn over players in order to make the business model work, then there's two really candidates, and I'm presuming we're probably going to be pretty much the same. But I mean, Glenn Kamara, we signed that man for 50 grand. 50 grand we signed him for, and we are selling him for way more than 100 times what we paid. So in a business sense, it would be somebody like Kamara. And obviously Alfredo. Alfredo we signed for £1 million. Again, he's worth at least 10 times that at least. So yeah, they're the kind of two names that kind of stand out to you to think, if the business model that Rangers are working on, this is probably the two. Not that I want either of them to leave, because I'm quite fond of both of them. But Ali, what's your thoughts? Who would you, if you had to, sell somebody on?
Yeah, I mean, similar to yourself, in an ideal world, I would love to keep this team together, but that's not how football works, especially when you play in Scottish football. You need to generate cash, and we need to generate cash because, like I've said, the last player we sold of decent money, and I think it was only £3 million, was Josh Windass. That's it. You look on the other side of the city, they've been punting their players for ridiculous amounts of money. I mean, they talk their players up something stupid, and down south they fall for it and pay stupid money for them. So yeah, but now we've got a lot of assets in that team. The three I would look at, the same as yourself, is Kamara, Morelos, and also Barisic as well. I think that's the three. I think it'll be Kamara. I think he is in a position in the team where we could bring somebody in there to replace him. Barisic would be a harder one. Big Shirley's there, which he's looked decent. Obviously made an ass for it this year when he was part of COVID-5, so he's been given another chance to come back in. So yeah, I would say with Alfie, I've got a wee feeling he might stay and have a wee crack at Champions League, because if Rangers get into group stages, he does really well. We can sell him for more money. And one other thing if we do make group stages of Champions League, you're into that £30 million money, whatever it is. So we may not have to sell another player, but if we don't get into Champions League, you might see maybe 2 or 3 players going rather than maybe one.
Yeah, it's a good point to make, to be honest, mate. I think the Champions League next year, the money of us getting through the qualifying stages is very, very important, and the way Rangers are going to obviously shape up their business in terms of players going out. Scotia?
I quickly, you see when you talk about Winters there, Ali, how much did Waghorn go for? Was that like 1.5?
It wasn't as much as Windass, I don't think.
Yeah,
no.
ridiculously low amount of money though. And he went on £7 or £8 million afterwards.
Was it not 9 million or something? I think
Yeah, he
Derby
went to
signed him
Derby.
for?
Yeah.
9 million. Do you know what I mean? He's like, what? I liked Waggy, by the way. I thought I genuinely did like Waggy.
I did. Yeah, no, I did. Yep. Transfers. I think the transfers out are going to be predicated an awful lot on the European Championships coming up in the summer. There's quite a few players that are going to be in attendance at that. Mainly, I think you would look at Barisic and Kamara. And I think if the one that's probably going to go, I would say Kamara, because he seems to do really well with Finland. He's from sort of Arsenal's training centre, so he's got like this big background along, and you can see what a good footballer he is. Neil McCann seen what a good footballer he was. Brought him to Dundee.
Sorry, Scotia there. Can I just throw something in while we're talking about Glenn Kamara? What would you seriously value him at in the summer? Like, Joel, just hypothetically, he has a good Euros. What would you say?
So how good a Euros are you talking about? Like.
I mean, Finland. It's Finland he plays for, isn't it? I mean, I doubt they're going to get major. Say they get in the knockout stages or something and get put out.
I can. Wait 2 seconds. I'll look and see. Keep speaking. I'll see who Finland are playing.
I'll. If they have a good group and he shines and he gets them out of the group stage, then, mate, I don't know. It's hard because if you played in England, you're talking what, 30 million, 35 million, something like that. Like something ridiculous it would be. In terms of Scotland, what did Tierney go for? 20 million or something?
25, I think.
So, honestly, and without putting my neck out there, 18 plus.
Yeah, I had a figure of 15 to 20 in my head. That was the figure I had.
Yeah, I've found it. They've got Denmark, they've got Russia, and they've got Belgium, so they're not getting out the group. I don't think.
Hard. Yeah. Oh.
Just predicting that right there.
Even at that, though, you're probably still talking what 15 mil, maybe.
I would say it depends. It depends what league he goes to. I think Kamara is one of these type of players that could play really, really well in the Serie A, somewhere like that, and obviously that's going to attract not less money, but if you went to somewhere down in England, they're like, putting more pound signs on that, whereas to somewhere in Serie A, you're talking about 15 to 18 million pounds, I think. Whereas if it's somewhere down in England, you could then maybe push the 20 plus bracket. But
I could see him in an Arsenal or a Leicester type team. That's where I could see him in.
Actually, mate, I was thinking Leicester. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would push it to even go as far as say like a Tottenham as well. He could do a job for Tottenham the way Tottenham play football. But I mean, it's a tough one to put a price on, to be honest.
Sorry, I was just thinking there. There's one guy we've completely missed out of this that we didn't even discuss. Joe Aribo.
The reason is, I think because he's been injured.
I don't think he'll go. Just before I say, I don't think he'll go.
No. I think it's because he got injured. Yeah, because you mind when we played in France in the pre-season stuff, Joe Aribo was bloody unbelievable. He was like, wait a minute, what have we got? And then he kind of got a wee knock, and then he's had another sort of injury. So he's maybe not done what you expected him to do when you first seen him in those games in France. But yeah, I know Aribo will be here. He won't go. I think there was only 3, and I agree with Ali actually around Morelos. I think Morelos will stay.
I hope so. I would love Morelos to stay. The only reason I think Morelos staying's beneficial for everyone is, yeah, he gets to bash at the Champions League also, but if we manage to get through and get into the group stages, Morelos' value is going to skyrocket, especially if he plays a key part in that. His value will go right through the roof. And we had conversations before about we waited too long to sell him and whatever else. And Morelos is peaks and troughs just now as well. He's still a young guy as well. He's still a relatively young player. He's probably not hit his peak yet, and yeah, I think I would love to see Morelos hang about and see us.
So would the balloon shops in Scotland. They would love because his missus.
I know we've kind of dragged this wee one a wee bit, but it's a good subject, to be honest. What about Ryan Kent? Leeds had a go at him last summer on the 10 million. He, for me, at the moment, is outstanding, and he must be attracting down in England. Surely somebody like a Leeds might come back for him.
I don't think he'd go. I generally don't think he'd go. I think with Gerrard being there, and the chance of obviously playing in the Champions League, I think it would need to be a ridiculous offer. The club might accept an offer, but it doesn't mean to say that Kent's going to agree terms with him. He could potentially knock it back. He's within his right to. So I just don't see him leaving. I think he gets this and he's loving being part of this, and he knows what it could go on to be. So no, I don't see him. Do you think he'll go, Scott?
No, I don't think so, because I think it took him quite a while to kind of get settled. I mean, he is still young, but he was getting shipped out from Liverpool all the time, going, you're going loan here, loan here. Came to Rangers and he kind of fell in love with it. We fell in love with him. We fell in love with his brother. And Twitter that night was unbelievable.
That was a great night, yeah. That was a good night.
If you want yourself with the Japanese sex dolls and whatnot. But yeah, I don't think he'll leave. No, I know what Ali's saying, but no, I think he's settled here, and I think he'll be here for another 2 or 3 seasons.
I think he will as well. I'm just saying, the more he plays like he is at the moment, Ryan Kent, there's going to be folk looking at him. I just think Ryan Kent, like you says, Carney, he's bought into Rangers. He knows what it's all about. I mean, you said it as well, Scotia. He's settled at Rangers. This is the first club he's really settled at. And he's still young. Ryan Kent will get a big money move somewhere, but stay with Rangers for another couple of years and experience it all.
Well, how long is Bielsa going to be at Leeds?
Oh, Christ, how long's a piece of string? You never know. He doesn't stay long at clubs.
No. I've done this.
But that's a good one. It's a good one. That's a good question. That's probably a podcast again in itself. So we'll move on. Andy's asked a few more questions. So just one word from you, gentlemen. Who's your signing of the season, Ali?
Balogun. For value for money as well, and what he's gave to the team this season, I think he's. I mean, look at the other side of the city. 2 million, 40 grand a week on Shane Duffy, whatever you want to call him. So, they would love a Balogun in their team at the moment. So, Balogun all day long for me.
That is the longest. Is that the longest one word in the English dictionary? It's got to be. That has to be. Well done, Ali. I'm glad you brought that into the pod. That'll make us sound intelligent.
I have to bring Shane Duffy in it.
Scotia, sign of the season.
Balogun.
Thanks, mate.
Can I do a piercing? I'm going to do a piercing. No, in fact, no, I won't. I'll let you go, because I know you're going to say someone who, say it.
Hadji for me.
Yeah. I would say him, but like, I don't even count. He was a signing, but because he came in and loan, that way you kind of.
Yeah, no, I know. A permanent signing for me. The impact Hadji's had has been brilliant. I think he's a genuinely a special player. I really do. I think he's got the world at his feet. He's another one. Eventually, he'll get his move. He'll get somewhere ridiculous. He's a top lad. Anyway, we'll move on. He also asked about James Bisgrove and Ross Wilson and the impact that they've had. So, James Bisgrove, for me, he's really done incredible work. The sponsors we've got, there's an extensive list of them. I mean, it's like every week there's another sponsor for Rangers for something else. And I was a wee bit scared that we're going to end up looking like a Napoli top, when there's like sponsors everywhere and it just looks like a billboard. But in terms of who we're sponsored by, it all makes real sense, and it's all helping with the growth of commercially grown Rangers. And as you mentioned earlier, Ali, about Edmondson House, I'm really excited to see what he brings to this and what it's going to look like. And I like that he's going to be fully involved in it. It's going to be quite a sight to behold, I think, when it's done, from the initial plans and discussions that I've seen around Edmondson House. So I'm generally excited about that. But yeah, I mean, he's been brilliant. He really has been brilliant. In terms of Ross Wilson, again, I don't think you can really underestimate his impact. I thought Mark Allen, I'm saying Mark Allen because I said Scott Allen the last time I spoke about him. But I think Ross Wilson has been even better than Mark Allen because Rangers recruitment has worked and we've identified the players that we need in order to sustain a title challenge. And we've not only sustained a title challenge, we're fucking unbeaten in the league. And you can't really underestimate the relationship between Gerrard, the coaching team, and Ross Wilson, that they're all fully on the same page and they fully understand this is the player we need. This is the kind of player that we're looking for. Go find them. And he's doing that. I know Gerrard obviously has his preferences for players and he'll have seen players himself and he'll go, I want him or whatever. But in terms of what Ross Wilson is doing, long may it continue. That's really all I've got to say about that. Scotia, do you want to go?
Yeah, and on Ross Wilson, it's someone you want there. And when Gerrard does go, and he will go, and when he leaves, you want Ross Wilson or someone that Ross Wilson brings in to sort of succeed him as well, to be there so that the philosophy of the football club is there. So we're not changing how we're going to play. So structurally and how we're going to sign signings, we're looking for the same people. That's what you want, because otherwise, I mean, we've experienced it so recently with just, oh, this is rotten, bring someone else in, and it's a scattergun approach to kind of, pick you. And then there's players there are going like, I don't know what's going on. Players fall out of love with the club and stuff like that. So yeah, Ross Wilson's been absolutely brilliant. I mean, he was thought very highly of down in Southampton, was it? It was that?
Yeah, Southampton, yeah.
So I think they really liked him. And was it Falkirk before as well?
Yeah.
Was it Falkirk? Yeah. So I mean, I think he's thought very highly of throughout the footballing world, and yeah, he's been brilliant for us. And this limited amount of time that he's been here, can't really think of any bad signing. I mean, Zungu, but I don't think Zungu's been a bad signing. It's just maybe not worked out. The commercial bit with Bisgrove and stuff, yeah, brilliant. I mean, this season I've probably spent about 300, 400 quid on Rangers stuff, out with like my season ticket and all that. And it's just like, give it to me. The only thing I've not seen and I want to see is a wee duck with 55 on it, so that I can just play in the bath with that wee duck. That's all I want.
I'm sure, Scotia, I'm sure it'll be there. The amount of emails I'm getting about 55 stuff at the moment, I'm sure it'll be on the list.
That's true.
But they did bring the ducks back to start with. I don't know, just Rangers ducks. Everyone wants a wee Rangers duck. But one with 55 would be fantastic.
Yeah, you're right, mate. And in terms of, as you say, you were talking about Ross Wilson and the signings as well. Zungu's the only one that would probably raise a question mark. And in terms again about Jace Bisgrove, the work that he's done on RTV and the Rangers website and stuff, it's all making definitely steps in the right direction. Ali?
Yeah, I think Bisgrove's done a fantastic job. He's bringing money into our club, which we haven't done previously. And I mean, I think he's got not the easiest job in the world, but he's marketing Glasgow Rangers with Steven Gerrard at the helm. I mean, what a company to go into these other companies and go, this is who we are, this is what we're about. Companies will be falling over themselves to deal with Rangers, and that's what you're looking at the moment. I mean, Cadbury's was the latest one, I think. Obviously, Scotia mentioned there was a queue in the store for folk getting on to buy this Cadbury's chocolate with 55 on it, which doesn't surprise me. Nothing shocks me with Rangers fans. Will buy anything. So yeah, he's been fantastic. And in terms of Ross Wilson, Rangers actually, before they got Mark Allen, Ross Wilson was the preferred choice before they got Mark Allen. And I think he went to Southampton at that point, or he was out at Southampton at that point and didn't come, and that's why we went to Mark Allen. So he was always the first choice, and he's come in again, as Scotia's sort of pointed out. Signings this season have been really good. Zungu is the only one you can have not a grumble at, but again, he's a punt. You can send him back to France. Itten, I think, is work in progress. I think he'll come good. Roof, I think we got in a cut price deal because of his injuries before. So hopefully, with a pre-season, he'll come good next season. So no, it's all good. And
Still good middies to get Roof in, though. To be fair,
because he always wanted Roof. He'd been banded about before he went to Anderlecht to come to Rangers. And I mean, you look at the other side of the city this year, and they've spent a lot of money this year. Celtic, don't let them tell you they haven't. They spent $5 million in Barney the Dinosaur in goal. They spent $5 million in a Yeti up front who sits on their bench. They spent $2 million in Shane Duffy and $40,000 in wages for him to throw games for them. So they've spent a lot of money. And David Turnbull, who apparently is the best midfielder in Scotland, $3 million. So they've spent a lot of money, Celtic. So, and look at us, we've spent a fraction of what they've spent, and they'd snap your hand off for what we've got.
Yeah, the thing with Roof as well is Roof's English, and he's still relatively young. So,
well, no, he's not. Roof's 29 now, isn't he?
Yeah, but that's relatively young for a player.
That's true, but again, the injury proneness of him's only going to get worse with age, you would think. So
it's not like Rangers not to sign an injury-prone player, is it?
But again, you've got to take these risks sometimes. I think that you've got to weigh up the pros and the cons of it. And when Roof is fit, I mean, I genuinely believe he's probably the best player in Scotland. I genuinely believe that. His ability is ridiculous. I mean, it really is. But that wee period that we had where he was fully fit just before Christmas, I think
Christmas,
it was. Yeah. He was brilliant. Like, I mean, really, you're like, my God. I think we spoke on podcasts as well. Like, what a player this guy is. And then a wee niggling injury crops back up again. And him and Ryan Jack, the injury proneness, gave me the absolute fear. They really do, because Ryan Jack's, I'm a massive fanboy of him. You all know that. And they're the only two where I'm like, oh, if they get injured, it could be for a long time. Every time you see them kind of limping or holding something, you're thinking, oh God, don't be long. But yeah, I mean, we can't really underplay the impact Ross Wilson's had. So cheers, Andrew. Cheers for getting involved, mate. We'll move on to our next one, and it's for Marth Vader. Who is your favourite Rangers player ever? Not the best you've ever seen, but your favourite, and why? So, Ali, do you want to go first?
Mine's from 9-0 era. Ex-Rangers manager, all-time goal scorer at Rangers. It's Ali McCoist. I grew up watching Ali McCoist batting in umpteen goals. I had his name in the back of my top. In fact, my wee niece wore my Ali McCoist top to her first Rangers game not last season, the season before. So not been a year. So, she wore it to one of the friendly games, which was quite good to see. But, no, Ali McCoist for me, the amount of goals he scored, especially against Celtic. I mean, he hates the bastards as much as we do. And I loved the way he celebrated against them. So, no, Ali McCoist for me.
I think the only reason that I am not going to pick Ali McCoist is purely because I'm the youngest of the three of us, gentlemen. And I'm probably just a year off at me picking McCoist. Does that make sense? Because McCoist was right in his pomp just as I was becoming into remembering everything and believing in building my love for the club. And I've mentioned him before as God, and it's not the most left field of answers, but Brian Laudrup is my favourite player. He'll always be my favourite player. There's nobody ever is going to take the place of Brian Laudrup for me. My favourite number is 11, just because Brian Laudrup used to wear it. There's not really any other reason behind that. It's because he wore number 11, so it's my favourite number. Brian Laudrup was one of a kind to me, and I think I'll struggle to... I know we romanticise a lot about it because Laudrup wasn't brilliant all the time, but when he was brilliant, he was unplayable. I mean, he was fucking world class, Brian Laudrup, and yeah, even now I still fancy him. Every time I see a picture of him and stuff, I'm like, oh, he's so handsome. Everything about the guy, and yeah, I say it's not the most exciting of answers, but it is Brian Laudrup for me, always will be. Scotia.
Yeah, I mean, those two players that you've both just mentioned, I mean, they're up there with in my top 5, top 4, if I'm being completely honest, because, I could watch Liverpool about them for long enough. And not annoyed that Ali's went with McCoist, because I think, if I'm being honest, McCoist would probably be mine as well. But that's not to say that the player that I'm giving to you now is no less of a player, or doesn't mean as much to me.
Say it, Carney.
It's going to be
Say
a
it.
defender. It's going to be a defender, innit? It's going to be a defender.
Fuck Broadfoot. No, it's Richard Gough. It's Richard Gough. I don't know. Richard Gough is unbelievable as a defender. I mean, he played with Dundee United, and he was a right back with Dundee United for a while. I think he played with Walter Smith. I'm sure Walter Smith was kind of still playing at that point when he joined. He went down to Spurs, became captain of the Spurs team after about a year, and then at this point he's captain of Scotland. He comes up to us, and obviously him and Butcher, and then he gets the captain's armband after Butcher leaves under kind of iffy circumstances, or a wee bit of falling out, I think, between Souness and Butcher. Let's be honest. And then he captains us to 9 in a row, and he epitomises everything that I think a Rangers captain should be. When someone says Rangers captain, Richard Gough's in my mind. You know, older people have like John Gregg, and like John Gregg's up there with like biggest statesman that I know of. I've got a wee picture of me on the marble staircase with John Gregg when I was about 10-year-old. Look at me. But like I never got to see John Gregg play. And it was Richard Gough was just, I mean, he scored a goal against England in 1985, 3 years before I was born. A year before I was born, sorry. But he was just that type of player. He fell out with Scotland, fell out with Roxburgh, fell out with Brown. He could have been one of Scotland's most capped players, I think, if it wasn't for that wee falling out.
You're probably spot on with
I
him,
love
mate,
him.
to be honest. Yeah, mate, I love him as well. When I think of a Rangers captain, mate, it's Richard Gough. He's the first one that everybody goes to. Ali's probably exactly the same. As I said, we've said numerous times now, we're all similar age. He was the captain. He really, really was. He was a leader, and the picture of him lifting the trophy at Tannadice will live in me forever. I don't think I'll ever forget him standing in his suit. What are you going to say, Scott?
Yeah, I've nearly completely forgot the wee story that I was going to say about Walter Smith. The night that me and Pearson were lucky enough to sort of meet and sort of have a few drinks with Walter up at Ellenborough Golf Club, I turned around to him and asked, a wee bit pissed, let's be honest, who's the better player, Richard Gough or Davy Weir? And Walter Smith looked at me and went, fuck off.
Yeah.
And that was me,
Yeah. You drunk, Scotia? I don't believe that for a fact.
I know, that's a shocker.
Never happened.
That's a shocker. It's a shocker. But yeah, I mean, I totally get on board with both of your answers, to be honest, as you probably do with me. They are three absolute legends of our football club. There's no doubt about it. So thank you. Cheers for the question. Thanks so much for getting involved. We'll move on to Eddie Riley now. Are we going to increase the capacity at Ibrox? Now, there's been speculation about this season as well, obviously, with the new commercial direction that Rangers are taking. If you want to take away the screens in the corner and extend Ibrox, I am all for it. And that's pretty much all I have to say about it. The screens are wasted. There's no real need for them, to be honest. If there's a way to get more fans into that stadium, then here to that. I'm all for it. Ali?
Yeah, I think if Rangers could increase the capacity, they would look at doing. Obviously, they have been looking in terms of under the pitch. Can they lower it anymore? I don't know if they can. What's under it? They've lowered it before, put seats below. But yeah, in terms of those jumbo screens, the jumbo screens were brought in originally because Rangers had an idea of they could show away games at Ibrox and they could get all the fans in, would sit and would watch away games, and it just never happened. It just wouldn't work. So
I actually remember just on that. I remember doing it once. Rangers played at Easter Road one time, and I think it was like an evening kickoff. I don't even think it was like 3 o'clock. I think it was like 5:30 or something. And the screen was just a sun because the sun was coming over the top of the stand, and it was just, and you couldn't see the game. I remember, I'm pretty sure my dad took me, and we sat in the main stand. I'm sure we did, and we watched it, and you just couldn't see in. It was just the most pointless thing in the world. It was a David Murray thing, let's be honest.
Yeah. I mean, maybe sounded a good idea at the time, but it was never going to work, and it didn't work. So
does that not kind of sum up David Murray's tenure at Ibrox? But really, sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, possibly, yeah, but no. I mean, if you could fill those corners in, yeah, I'd be all for it. Obviously, the main stand, the way it is, it's listed, and obviously the club deck's been built on top of it. I don't know if there's much they can actually do with that, but you've got Sandy Jardine stand. I don't know if they could build that slightly higher or whatever. I know they put bar 72s on it, which was a newish thing in the last few years. So, yeah, they would need to see if they could structurally do these things, but I'm sure they're looking at it, Rangers, because as everyone knows, there's a waiting list to get on these season tickets of something like 15,000 fans. So the demand's there for it. So, yeah, I could see it happening, but again, it's down to structural stuff.
Scosh?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, what are the point of the screens, to be honest? What are they there for? Maybe young children like them, potentially, when they're there. I don't know, sit and watch that. I'm eating my pie or I'm having a waffle, speaking to my pal, kind of thing. Whereas I take them away, you could fill in them corners. What, you're getting an extra, 500 in each corner, maybe 1,000 in each corner there. They can't lower Ibrox anymore. The water table must be like right up there, so that I don't think you can lower it anymore. What I've seen talk about, and Ali mentioned it there, is could you put like club decks onto like the Govan, the Copeland, the Brimlin, and I've seen like some stuff floating about with that kind of doing that, so you can add an extra 2,000 in each Brimlin and Copeland, and then another 5,000 in on the Govan. So that's an option, but that's an awful lot of money. That's like
an awful.
So that means we need probably Champions League group stages for 2 or 3 years before that's a viable option, because otherwise you're taking out the squad money.
I think an investor would need to come in that one, really, and he would get a kickback from it.
Yeah, taking the words out of my mouth there, mate. I think we need a Sheik or something to come in to be able to do something like that, to be honest. In terms of the screens being there, I mean, you see what's done at other stadiums. They could always be almost hung off the kind of Broomloan and the Copeland end. If they really still want to have a screen there, they could all, because it doesn't affect your view. If you're right at the back of the Broomloan or the Copeland, I've sat there before, it doesn't affect your view if there's something kind of hanging down a wee bit. It only restricts the other end of the ground, really, like the other end of the stand, really. Not the pitch. I mean, in terms of the main stand, they've probably gone as far as they can with that, because you can't do much more there. But I mean, I would love to see it happen. Whether it will, I don't know. As you say, I think it's all down to money now. I think it's all down to how much it's going to cost. And to extend day 3 stands, including the corners, blah, man, I'm not a construction man, but that's not going to be a cheap job.
I'm just going to throw this out there, and I totally disagree with what I'm about to say. But the next thing is, do you look to move away from Ibrox?
No,
but you can't. I know. I disagree. I know. But that's the next thing you look at.
Sorry, just while we're talking about that there, and we're talking about Bisgrove earlier on, do you think Bisgrove will look to maybe sell the naming rights of Ibrox?
No, he can't.
To the Orange Walker. Mind that wee tweet that went about the Orange Walker Stadium. That was going to be good.
I mean, it'll always be referred to as Ibrox. I wouldn't like it done, but you look at these stadiums down south, the Emirates and all that, Etihad.
Well, I still call Smirren Park Love Street, and it's not Love Street because it's a different stadium, but I still call it Love Street.
It's a completely different area, mate. It's not Love Street. Yeah. But no, that's one thing I'll not be happy with at all. I mean,
even if somebody said I'll give you 10 million a year, and name it some fuck knows what it could be.
If you see, because you know what they've done with Highbury. Like, now you can have a flat in Highbury. Imagine that the facade of the Ibrox get turned into like flats.
It's not going to Scotch us. We'll just cut this conversation dead right now.
No, I know. But in terms of the naming rights thing, mate, no, I don't want that. No, sorry, I'm a traditionalist.
No, I'm the same.
Yeah, no, it's Ibrox. It always will be Ibrox. You can shove your sports director right up your farter, as far as I'm concerned. No, not interested. But yeah, that's a good conversation as well. Thanks very much, Eddie, for getting involved. That's magic, mate. And our final question of the night is from Lee Dixon.
Oh, Dixie.
Will Scotia ever braid his hair? Scotia, only you can answer that, mate.
It's been braided. It's been braided. We were out in the piss one night up at the Sky Bar, and some lassie. It's like, oh, your hair's really long. Can I braid it? And I was like, batter in.
I'll tell you what.
Unfortunately, didn't manage to go further than that. You know that way. You're like, I'm in. And then no, it didn't happen. But aye.
I'll tell you what, Dick.
Ali, you about to say? You go. I think I know what you're about to say.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you. I mean, for Dixie, unfortunately, who's going to be marrying into my family soon. So, and he's as big a Rangers fan as we are. So the wedding will be good. It'll probably be a bit of a sash bash. Hopefully, Hannah doesn't listen to us. But that's what's going to be happening. Sorry, but
Dixie's uncle's unbelievable.
What I thought we could do to make Dixie happy is probably when the pubs reopen, what we'll do is we'll get a Shane Duffy face mask and we'll get one of the girls behind the bar, maybe Ailey or Bella or something, and they can come out and braid Scotia's hair with the Shane Duffy mask on, and we'll film it. That'd be brilliant.
I was going to give him more leeway in that and say if we get to Gdansk, then Scotia has to get his full hair braided.
See, I've had some.
Need with those wee glasses, Laxalt wears as well.
No, because then I'll look like.
And a Celtic top one.
Look like we Bernie from fucking Rabsy Nebs, but won't I? I'm not having that. No.
Wow. Watch this space, Lee, mate. Watch this space. But Lee, thank you very much for getting involved as well, gentlemen. That'll do us. We've went a good bit of time there. Second time lucky, and it's actually went better than the first time did, which is quite good. But yeah, thank you everybody for getting involved. We'll definitely do another one of these. I really did enjoy that. Thank you to everybody, as I say, for sending in the messages. So Ali, thank you very much for your time, mate. I'll speak to you again I'll probably speak to you in about 2 minutes, mate, once I press stop recording. But we'll be back on Wednesday with Club Deck Corner.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed that there with the folk from the Facebook page getting involved with that. So hopefully we've got a few kind of dead weekends coming up soon. So hopefully we can do another one of these and maybe make it a kind of regular show. Yeah,
definitely. Scotia, thank you very much, mate, and thank you for not indulging yourself too much in your favourite pastime.
Crack one now, Scotia.
Oh, cheers, guys. Yeah, those dead weekends aren't rubber. Scotland are playing, so I'll be involved.
Sorry.
Oh, no, that'll do us. Thank you everybody for getting involved. Also, thank you everybody for listening. As I say, please like our videos on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, follow our socials anywhere that you can. It really does make a difference to us, and things are growing really well just now, and we're humbled by it. We really are, and it's great to be part of this. It's great to be able to share it all with you, and it was really good to have all you get involved tonight. Again, we'll definitely do another one of these because I really did enjoy it. So we are Club at 22, the Rangers podcast. We, of course, are the people. We, of course, are the champions. 55 is home, and we'll speak to you all on Wednesday. Thank you very much. Cheers.